أذلة على المؤمنين. And a lot of times we skip أذلة على المؤمنين and we go straight to أعزة على الكافرين because that's easier. You know, أذلة على المؤمنين. They are powerless, weak, humble, meek, soft in their dealings with believers. They are easygoing with believers. They're forgiving with believers. They're courteous in their language. They're not judgmental. They're not harsh with other Muslims. One of the worst qualities of a community that claims to be a believing community is that they are judgmental and harsh and backstabbing towards each other. This is one of the worst qualities Bani Israel had developed. So when Allah reminded them of the fundamentals of their deen, He included in those fundamentals, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak to people nicely. Speak to people nicely. You'll find nowadays, unfortunately, a stigma associated with Muslims. The more religious they get, the more constipated they get socially. The more difficult it is to talk to them. The angrier they look. If the guy's got a beard, it means he's just constantly going to be upset at something. And you're going to avoid trying to talk to him. If a woman starts wearing hijab, it just means she's going to judge you because you're not wearing one, and she will look at you with eyes that'll burn right through your hair. Right? That's the perception. But the closer you come to deen, that much more you're supposed to become courteous and kind and generous and understanding and forgiving of others. That's what you're supposed to be. Instead of looking at someone who's living in ignorance. A lot of Muslims do ignorant things nowadays. Maybe your friends do and you don't do them anymore. But if your friends are doing ignorant things, your first thought is, astaghfirullah, these people, I can't believe they're my friends. Such ignorance they do. They do bid'ah, they do kufr, they do shirk, they do haram, they don't care about anything. You were that guy 2 years ago. That was you. Who guided you? You guided yourself? وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُم مِّنْهَا. The same ayah which says, فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. He put love between your hearts is the same ayah that says you were at the very edge of hell. You were at the edge of the ditch. And He rescued you. So when somebody else is at the edge of the ditch, instead of getting angry at them and kicking them off, be patient, be courteous, be patient. And sometimes you come and ask the imam and the scholar, I'm trying to give da'wah to my brother or to my friend. It's been like 2 months. Nothing's happening. What should I do? Give me some magical thing to say. Tell me what I can do. You know what? What's Nuh alayhi salam's magic trick? It's sabr. He's talking to his own son for a very long time. The same community for a very long time. And it's not like he talks to a group of people and they don't listen. He says, you know what? I'm packing my bags. I'm going somewhere else. Maybe I'll find a better crowd elsewhere. Nope. Same crowd. Same crowd. We have to be patient with each other, especially believers. Especially believers. And that's Nuh alayhi salam with kuffar. That's him with kuffar. That's the messenger for a decade, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with the Quraysh of Makkah, the worst of the worst, for a decade. We're talking about Muslim families. We're talking about your own friends and neighbors. We have to humble ourselves before them. It's a very serious problem, arrogance. One of the great central teachings of our religion, La ilaha illallah, the beginning of our religion, is acknowledging the greatness of Allah. And the more you realize Allah's greatness, the natural result of that should be, the more you realize your own lesser status. The more you declare Allah's greatness, the more humble you should become. That's the natural result of declaring La ilaha illallah. Every time you and I say Allahu Akbar, it is not just a statement of Allah's greatness, it's a statement of our own weakness. It's a statement of our own humility. But when people who say Allahu Akbar then pass judgment of anybody who walks into the masjid, and they look at the size of their beard, or they look at how they're dressed, or they look at the accent of their language, when that happens, when people who even work in Islamic causes look at each other with suspicious eyes, when they can't trust each other, when people say salam without meaning salam, assalamu alaikum, all of you know what that means. But what it implies is there's no beef between us. I don't dislike you. I love you. There's absolute peace and harmony between us. But when you say, Assalamu alaikum, brother, you don't mean it. You mean the exact opposite. I hate your guts, brother. But you're saying Assalamu alaikum. That's what you're saying. And this is absolute hypocrisy. You cannot say Assalamu alaikum to someone and have feelings against them. You can't. Then you're saying something you don't mean. That's what you're doing. So you and I, we have to, internalize أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ first. Humbled before the believers.